Now, I would like to call the next speaker, Venerable Ashin Sarana. To introduce Ashin Sarana to you, I would like to read this. When Ashin Sarana was born as a Jan Stovisek, I don't know I'm pronouncing it right or not. Sorry for that. In the city of Pilsen in Czech Republic on 24th of February 1987. Since the age of 5, he stayed alone with his father and grandmother. In 1998 to 2006, attended Catholic High School in Pilsen, passing the living school examination from subjects of Czech language, English history, philosophy, psychology, and religious studies. When he attended Catholic high school, he encountered Buddhism by reading about it in books and gradually converted to Theravada and decided to become a Buddhist monk in Sri Lanka. After 1 year of business English course in Pilsen, he left from Czech Republic to Sri Lanka on 14th of December 2007, where he became a novice Shramanera monk on 5th of May 2008, where the Venpema Siri gave him the Pali name Sarana, that is, who takes refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. In December 2021, he was admitted to Liberty University of US Virginia for a master's degree program of clinical mental health counseling. Since June 2022, he has been teaching Dhamma and meditation in Vietnam. June to December 2022 in Ho Chi Minh City. From January 2023 onward is in Hanoi. So now the stage is yours, Venerable Sarana.
Okay. So how do I operate it? So I move.
It's only yeah.
Like
Yes. Yes, it's screen for you in the front.
Okay. Dear Venerable Sangha, distinguished guests, participants, dignitaries, scholars, monastics, and lay devotees who wish to preserve and promote the Buddha Sasana. Today I will be talking about a problem that was a huge problem about 100 years after the Buddha's demise, and it seems that since then it still has been a problem. I believe that this problem is one of the crucial reasons why the Buddha Dhamma is declining today. If we look at Buddha Dhamma about 100 years ago, it was flourishing. Monks in monasteries were most respected by lay people, and lay people had faith, and they followed monks. They went to monasteries every 2 weeks to follow 8 precepts. Today, it doesn't happen. So many monks were there in Myanmar and Sri Lanka and other countries. Today, a monk, previously one monastery would have 100, 200 monks. Today, one monk has 5 monasteries or 10 monasteries. The Sangha is reducing. And I believe that the number one reason is because the discipline is in the decline. Now we can do something about that. Both monks and lay people can do something about that. The Buddha explained in 3 Kimila discourses that disrespecting the discipline is one of the reasons why the Buddha's dispensation will disappear. Moreover, it is well written and well known by monks that without the discipline, the sasana will disappear. And we see the proof. This is the evidence. Monks do not have discipline. Sasana is disappearing. When monks had discipline, sasana was firm. Always. So Vinaya rules are the lifespan of the Buddha's dispensation. These times, the monks who accept money teach their disciples also to accept money and cause various troubles to the monks who do not accept money and those who follow all Vinaya rules. So they decrease the lifespan of the Buddha's dispensation. In order that the lifespan of the Buddha's dispensation does not decrease, the monks who follow all Vinaya rules should admonish the monks who break the precepts. Monks who accept money do not like to listen to and take seriously monks who remind them not to accept money. When those who accept money are told not to accept them, they just search for excuses. Therefore, disrespecting the training, these monks who touch money, who accept money, are decreasing the lifespan of the Buddha's dispensation. These monks who hinder the truth so they achieve gain commit yet another offense. So, when a monk admonishes, when a monk who follows rules, if he admonishes another monk to follow rules, then the monk who does not follow rules, if he does not listen and change his ways, it's an additional offense. So not only that the monk who touches money is breaking a rule, but when a monk who does not break the rule and admonishes the monk who breaks the rule, then the monk who breaks the rule, if he does not change his ways, it's an additional offense for not listening, for not following the admonishment. Moreover, if the monk who breaks the rules, if he thinks that he can admonish another monk who does not break the rule, and who hinders breaking the rules, then admonishing another monk who hinders breaking rules is another offense. So, there we have another verse. Okay, so that's actually what I've just said. Then we have another verse which says that yava tittanti suttanta vinayo yava dippati tava dakkanti alokang. It's a verse from Anguttara Nikaya commentary. Learned monks like to use this verse. Sure, if we have it, we will have that later. So many monks think that as soon as they are learned, they can preserve the sasana. They believe that if they are well educated, then the sasana will stay. But that's wrong. The monks who want to preserve the sasana must be educated and follow rules. If they are educated and do not follow rules, they destroy the sasana. If they follow the rules and they are not educated, it doesn't matter, they still preserve the sasana. It is necessary to follow the rules. So just learning the Buddha's discourses is not enough to protect the Buddha's dispensation. The monks who study the scriptures must also follow all of the Vinaya rules. Again, yava tittanti suttanta vinayo yava dippati tava dakkanti alokam. Yava tittanti suttanta, until the discourses are there available. Vinayo yava dippati, until the discipline is shining. Until then, it is possible to see the light. So, now the verse that you see in the presentation explains that there are 5 donations that are bad. It is bad to be generous with the bad thing. You cannot be generous with everything. If you give alcohol, or if you give sexual pleasures, provide sexual pleasures, or if you provide pornographic pictures, that is actually a bad deed. It is not a good deed of donation. It's a bad deed. So this list does not include a donation that would make a monk break a rule. There is an opinion that if we help another person do a bad deed, then the help to do a bad deed itself, the help itself, is a bad deed. According to the Dutiya Parajika and Tatiya Parajika subchapters of Vinaya Pitaka's Parajika Pali, a monk could even fall into a major offense, Parajika, if he helps another monk to steal or to kill. So helping itself is a problem. The fact that you do not do it yourself doesn't much matter. If you help another person to do it, is a problem. So if you help a monk to break a rule, you did something wrong. See this. Yocha akappiyassa paribhogena silavante sudeti natassa punyang pavadhatiti so chetang danang akusalena deti. It is a bad deed to give monks money. If you give monks money, you commit akusala. It's a demerit. It's a bad deed. Lay people should never ever give money to monks. So, according to Madhyama Nikaya's Dakkhina Vibhanga Sutta, donating to someone of broken virtue will bring about 1,000-fold benefit. But the 1,000-fold benefit, and we'll see it later here. Oh, I don't know how to use PowerPoint. Okay, well, that's what we get. So, the 1,000-fold benefit mentioned in the Buddha's discourse is coming only for those who donate in order to discourage the other person from a misdeed. So you cannot say, well, if I give money to a monk, at least I get 1,000 times benefit, right? Because he is bad monk, he breaks the rules, so at least I get 1,000 times benefit. No, you don't. You get a bad deed. Why? Because you support the monk in doing bad thing. You get 1,000 times fold benefit if you support the monk in not doing the bad thing. Donating money to monks is not only giving them a ticket to hell, but also blocking them from birth as a human, as a god, deity, or even the attainment of Nibbana. If monks intentionally break a rule until they purify themselves from it, they are in danger of being born in a world of suffering upon their death, and moreover, they cannot achieve enlightenment. So that we see right here. If a monk, you see, intentionally transgresses any of the 7 classes of rules, that means any rule at all, even the tiniest rule, the monk cannot be born as a human or as a god. Well, then what remains? Well, remains to become a Brahma, probably not a Brahma. So what remains? The monk can be born in hell as an animal or as a ghost. Monks who touch money, according to our scriptures, will be born in hell as animals or as ghosts. It's there. What can I do with that? So what do the lay people, when they give money to monks, what do they expect? They support the monks in being born as an animal, as a ghost, or in a hell. That's not the real support. If a monk, however, who accepts money, abandons money forever, discards all things that were bought by a monk's money, because if a monk buys things, then those things also break the rules. It's also a huge problem. So if the monk discards the money, discards everything that was bought by a monk's money, confesses to purify the offense, then the monk can strive to achieve enlightenment, liberation from all birth, old age, illness, and death. In such a case, donating to this monk will not only bring 1,000 times benefit, but an innumerable benefit. All right, so now this is the situation. Now let's see if there is something practical. What shall we do with this? A monk who now has any money should abandon them all today itself. Well, if you die today, then even today is late, right? So a monk who touches money, a monk who has money must abandon them right now if possible. It is not in accordance with the Buddha's teachings to give that money to a layperson. So now maybe some of the monks, maybe they think, oh, I touch money or I have money. You cannot give them to a layperson. You cannot say, oh, my neighbor, I'll give you my money, here you have that. No, you cannot do that. Monks actually cannot give the money to a layperson. The monk should gather the community of monks in the monastery and abandon all the money in the midst of the monks in accordance with the Buddha's description, with the Buddha's instruction in the Rupya Sikkhapada of Vinaya Pitaka's Parajika Pali. Now, it is not correct to abandon the money to a layperson and suppose that it is not possible to gather the community of monks. So, if you cannot, now suppose the monk who has money should throw away all the money outside the monastery. After throwing them away, he should not take them back, obviously. He also should not tell anyone where did he throw the money away. So, suppose that you're a monk, you want to get rid of money, do not give them to a layperson. Go out of the monastery, well, you would have to go out of the hotel, out of this hotel Ashok, and just throw them somewhere without looking where the money falls and return back. That's the way to do it. But ideally, you would gather the Sangha and you would place the money in the midst of the Sangha, as is explained here, but we won't have time to read all of that. This is actually the Buddha's instruction. You see, it's a little bit complicated. Then the monk refuses the money in the midst of the Sangha, and then the Sangha will appoint a monk who will take the money and throw the money away. Yes, I'm aware of the time. So when lay people have entrusted money to an assistant and request the monk to ask the assistant for whatever the lay people intend to donate, the monk can then tell the assistant whenever it is suitable. So it doesn't mean that if you have just money, you cannot do anything. If a monk has an assistant, you can entrust the money with the assistant, saying, I am entrusting the money with an assistant. You are not giving the money to the assistant. The assistant does not own the money. It is the donor's money throughout the time until the monk gets what he needs. When the monk gets what he needs, then it becomes the donation. So this is a problem. You actually did not do any merit of donation until the monk gets his robe or food or place to stay or medicine. Throughout the time the assistant has money, it is still your money. And if the assistant runs away with the money, then the monk actually must inform, the donor must inform you that the assistant ran away with the money. Because the money is not the monk's money. It is your money, the donor's money, not the assistant's money. Okay, now if a monk, now suppose that the monk does not have an assistant, what shall you do? Well, then the donor needs to ask the monk, Venerable Sir, usually monks have a phone, so the donor can ask, Venerable Sir, give me a phone number of someone who you know. So the monk will give the phone number of someone, of a layperson, to the donor, and then the donor can send the money to the friend or to the layperson of the monk. So then the monk, then the layperson, then the donor must tell, oh, Venerable Sir, if you need anything, ask your layperson. So the donor gives money not to the monk, but the donor will call the phone number of the monk's layperson, send the money to the layperson, and ask the money, Venerable Sir, if you need anything, ask your layperson. And this can be done even on alms round. If you see a monk on alms round, tell him, Venerable Sir, give me a phone number of someone who you know, a layperson who you know. And then the donor can resolve the problem. So, suppose that a monk does not have a phone. Well then what the monk shall say, monks do not accept money. If monks accept money, they will not live in accordance with the Buddha's decision. If monks do not live in accordance with the Buddha's decision, the monks will be born in worlds of suffering, and the lay people who supported monks in breaking the rules of discipline will collect demerit. Therefore, donor, support monks in following their rules of discipline. All right, so can I say one last point? One last point is regarding bank cards. There are various ways how you call bank cards. Some people call them credit cards, some people call them ATM cards, but hopefully all of you understand that all of that is included. So some monks wonder whether it is suitable to use bank cards to directly purchase whatever they want. The bank card is not money on its own, and in the bank there are lay people who just take care of the entrusted money. So couldn't the bank workers be the assistants? Well, then the monk could just go around with a bank card, right? So, if so, some monks may wonder if they could consider the workers in the bank as their assistant. And so through the bank card, they could inform their assistant in the bank about what they need. But monks must not own a bank card. And monks must not accept a bank card. Why? Because if a monk owns a bank card and the bank account is owned by the monk, the workers in the bank as well as the seller will think that the money is owned by the monk, and monks are not allowed to own money. So then that's all wrong. Also, when a monk buys items directly with a bank card, he indicates the amount of money that he needs for the item. The monk is not allowed to tell the amount of money to the supporter, to the assistant, when he wants something. So the monk cannot say, "Oh, dear sir, I want a robe, it costs $10. No, that cannot be. A monk tells to the assistant, "Dear assistant, I need a robe." That's all what he can say. So monks must not tell their kapya how much the needed item costs, so that kapyas either use the money of the donors, or if the kapya already has the item and wants to donate it, the kapya can donate it directly to the monk. Also, when a monk uses a bank card, the seller expects that the monk is the owner of the bank account. If a monk then happens to consider the money paid by the bank card to the seller as his, well, then the monk transgresses the rule because, again, the monk thought that the money is his. Even if the bank card is owned by the lay people and just lent to the monk, we should be careful. When the bank card is owned by the lay people and the monk uses the bank card, he would have to inform his donors every time he uses the bank card about his needs. If the monk goes to a developing country where bank cards are not available, he will not be able to understand why he can't use money here if he could use the money there by the bank card. Now here he doesn't have bank card, there he had. Why can't he use money here? So to avoid confusion and excuses of monks who are weak in faith, to avoid making a monk shameless whenever a little problem arises, it is necessary that monks never have, accept, or use any bank cards or any access to a bank for any purpose under any circumstances. So this was a very little brief summary of what I have written in this book. I have actually written this book in Burmese. I myself wrote this book in Burmese. Then, in the name of this conference, I made this English translation. This book is free to take. I think it will be available. If you cannot find it, either here in this hall or in the next hall, then just come to me and I will provide you with this book. We have a lot of them. This book explains in detail basically what I've just said, and many, many more questions are answered in this book. Thank you very much. May you be happy.
Thank you, Venerable Ashin Sarana. So now we have all the presentations done, and this floor is open for the questions. I'm sure many of you have a lot of questions moving around, and you're most welcome to come up with your questions. And I would like to request you to introduce yourself before asking the question. And when you ask the question, please note, we are open to ask the question. Please, we are not expecting any lectures. So take note of that. And when you ask questions, be brief and to the point. Okay? So this is my request, sincere request to all of you. Please don't feel offended. Okay? So the floor is open for the questions. We have wonderful presentations on this topic of contemporary challenges that the Buddhist monastics are facing in this 21st century. As you have seen, like Venerable, all of our presenters have presented different varieties of challenges that we are facing. So you're most welcome to come up with your questions. I do hope that our presenters will definitely kind of, enlighten on kind of answer your queries if you have any kind of specific queries. Okay, thank you. Please carry on.
Okay, I have a question for not specifically any of you, so anybody can answer, please. So my question is, how we modernize Buddhism and without losing the authenticity, and many still not into Buddhism, even the general regionally Buddhist countries, even their youngsters not interested in Buddhism. So how we solve that problem?
So would you like to, any one of you like to respond to that question?
Actually, I didn't understand.
So he's asking.
What does it mean to modernize Buddhism? What does he expect is the modern Buddhism?
So the question is, what do you mean by modernized Buddhism? The concept itself is not clear when you use the term modernized Buddhism.
Is it too old-fashioned? Then people don't understand, don't interest. You have to be update level of the, so that if it's updated, then it's modernized. But the challenge is losing authenticity. Without losing authenticity, how we modernize, how we make youngsters interested, because the old young people losing. Like I'm talking about general, the traditional Buddhist countries, their youngsters losing interest. What is wrong with what is the problem and how we solve that problem? That's what I'm saying.
So, would you like to respond? Anyone?
Sir, do you have a response?
Would you just respond?
I am probably the youngest in Vasa, so I will wait for your response.
I think for my opinion, as I mentioned in my speech, we need to go to the core essence of Buddha's teaching. Of course, Buddha teaching go to many different regions, and there's a culture involvement, and there's a varieties of the local kind of like rituals, ideas, feeling different together with the Buddha Dharma. So the culture, when we go to the essence of culture, essence of Buddha Dharma, some culture we need to preserve, some culture no need. Maybe some culture is 800 years old, may not be relevant now. So now I think what we need to do is the essence of Buddha Dharma, like awareness, love and compassion, and wisdom, we need to keep that. But then how we can maintain this to the modern world, we need to fill the gaps, like study and meditate. So normally what we call view, meditation, application. So the view is we study, but if we didn't bring into the meditation, it will not bring into experiential level. So bring into the experiential level, we need to practice meditation. And not only that, then we need to apply in everyday life, especially with the clashes, with emotion. So, and then we need to bring that into, according to what Buddha said, the mentality, personality, different levels of being at this moment. For example, my example of summer river, it doesn't work in California. So we need to have the relevant, very simple, easy, fun, go right to the heart to benefit, transform clashes and emotion. And I think this is really beneficial for the 21st century.
Would you like to respond? We have another response from.
Just to add to Rinpoche's words, and I think, Venerable, as you are wiser and older than us, you understand the question better than us, I believe. But to add to a few things, I think to adapt to the future, Sangha needs to look back in the old times also. Proper Buddhist education system is very vital to ensure that the lineages are transmitted to next generation properly. What proper Buddhist education system means is a question for dialogue, discussion. The way we see in the current world, the Buddhist education system is adapting to the modern academia. So we have next generation of Buddhist monks, nuns all over the world who are studying bachelor's, master's, and PhD in proper academic institution. But those are actually training in textual analysis, modern scholastic tools. They lack a rigorous training in meditative art. I strongly believe that we can look at the older institutions, right from Nalanda days, to also later day, how they were integrated in Tibet, for example. When the great Tsongkhapa, when he started the monastic institution, the focus was on understanding the core Buddhist ideas very deeply, as deeply as you can. And then, under the guidance of right teachers, you go into meditative practice. So I think this way, Buddhist education system has a 1,500-year history. So the challenge for us is how to evolve a proper monastic or Buddhist education system for future that trains the new generation of Sangha, which also includes monks, future nuns, lay devotees as well. This would be number one. And there's number two, I believe very strongly, the reason Buddhism is relevant is because of the meditative art. You see, to be able to be our own therapists, to be able to have a dialogue with our own inner heart, to clear our clashes, to purify our mind, Buddha gave us the unparalleled art. And that is the reason why Buddhism is relevant. I believe the next generation, Venerable, AI technologies, they are leaping forward so quickly. Even today, if we ask ChatGPT to give us advice, it can give better advice than us monks and nuns because of the language issues. What makes the Dharma more interesting, what makes a practitioner who may not know the language at all, is their training in the meditative art. So I believe that training and ensuring that future generations have access to proper sadhanas, to really bring them to the forefront, that'll be another thing. And the third term in modernization, I believe that is the right time to bring this dialogue, is that the Sangha, Buddha saw it as a common, safe home for everyone. People of all caste, class, and orientation. So the challenge for us is how do we open the old Sangha, old mostly patriarchal Sangha, to make it a home for also nuns, bhikshunis, how do we allow them same level of education, training, and support to grow? And in future, very important, I believe, is also we have lay secular teachers arising all over the world. How do we ensure that they have the access to the proper training and teaching that has been guided and carried on, preserved in various lineages? So these would be a couple of few things to think about, but I believe that Venerable Sangha here has more wisdom on this than us.
Now, the Geshe-la will respond.
For me, the term modernization, when we say we need to modernize the Buddhism, it doesn't mean upgrading what we have. upgrading the contents that what we have in our scriptures, in our Buddhism textbooks. It does not mean compromising something. I think His Holiness Dalai Lama usually divides Buddhism in 3 categories. Buddhism, Buddhist science, and Buddhism itself, Buddhist religion, and the Buddhist philosophy. So Buddhist science basically refers to inner science. And we do have tremendous and enriched methods for transforming our mental issues. And so in that sense, the modernization of the Buddhism, I think it refers to making these tools and techniques of mind training to the mainstreams of the scientific community and make it accessible to the larger people so that they can also enjoy and study Buddhism and can benefit by knowing and studying and by practicing these things. So the question is, how can we make it accessible to the larger people? Not only kept Buddhist scriptures in the monastic community, not only in the Sangha community, but also making it accessible to the lay community. And His Holiness Dalai Lama actually initiated and gathered some Buddhist scholars to extract the relevance information of the Buddhist science and Buddhist philosophy and published 7 volumes of books. And it has few of these volumes already translated, and many of them are still being translated in different language. And I think we as a Buddhist Sangha, as a Buddhist monk, have a huge responsibility to make this Buddhist accessible and easily understandable for the lay people, so that Buddhism can sustain for a longer period of time. Because Buddhist Sangha community, for the long run, it does not seem to be sustaining forever.
All right. So, modernize. We can see already in the history of other larger religions that modernization has always been based on revolutionizing. So revolution means basically you are going back, you revolve back into the past, and you bring up the past. Be it the Greek ideas in the Middle Ages, or Christianity later in the Middle Ages, or many other ideas, and Hinduism these days. So in order to modernize Buddhism, we actually need to revolutionize. Revolutionize means we need to go back to the Buddha's time. Now we see that in Buddhist countries, the Buddhist faith is based on faith, devotion, and that is outdated. It is outdated because today the youth want answers. They want to understand. They don't want to be just devoted or believe. So in the Buddhist countries, we can see that gradually the devotees are reduced, gradually the faith is reduced, because people learn that intellect is more important than faith. And if we look at the Buddha's time, we see that again and again and again. Buddha is again and again approached and asked questions which are severely critical. I cannot imagine most devotees today in Myanmar, Sri Lanka, to ever dare to come to a monk and ask the same questions which the Buddha was asked. The same questions. But the lay people will not dare to ask them out of the devotion. And therefore, it is no more like in the Buddha's time. It needs to be like in the Buddha's time. So the youth needs to be allowed and encouraged to come and ask the kind of questions that the Buddha was asked. So, now the first point, monks need to be different from lay people. As soon as monks are like lay people, that means if they accept money, then the youth has no reason to ask monks. What do the monks know? See, even the lay people sometimes are bald. Even the lay people sometimes wear red clothes. Even the lay people sometimes don't have sex. So what's special about the monks who touch money? Not much. So only when the monk doesn't touch money, he's special. And that's when the young people are so much interested in the monks. Well, I don't touch money, and I know that young people are extremely interested in me. I have hundreds and hundreds of youth students. And I'm pretty sure that it's because of my virtue, because I do not touch money. Okay, so first, monks need to be special. If they're not special, nobody cares. Number two, monks need to know answers. Monks need to be able to answer the youth's questions. If youth say, well, Nibbana is nothing, I'm afraid of going to Nibbana. Monk needs to know how to answer. If the monk doesn't know how to answer, that's useless. Number three, I myself would like to suggest, that is my own suggestions, but that probably would be for another global summit. My suggestion is that monks actually need to learn modern scientific knowledge. They need to learn psychology, they need to learn anatomy. The Buddha taught psychology, the Buddha taught anatomy. We have described details in Atthakatha, Tika about psychology and anatomy, which the Buddha probably never said. They are probably copied from Hindu scriptures, or they are just the new development of the monks' thinking and realizing and experience and so on and on. So monks need to study psychology, monks need to study anatomy, maybe a little bit of physics would not matter so much. And if monks, I mean subatomic physics of course, so if monks study science, then again they're interesting to the youth, because the youth will see, aha, so these monks, they don't think that the earth is flat. I know personally a monk in Myanmar who thinks that the earth is flat. And he has a degree, he has a Burmese degree in Buddhist scriptures. He thinks that the world is flat. Now, if a Buddhist monk tells to lay people that the earth is flat, how much do you think the lay people will listen? Probably not much. So the monks need to have excellent knowledge of modern science. They do not need to say that the science is right. There's no need to do that. But they need to understand it deeply. For that, there are universities, there are online universities which are available. Monks can study very easily. They can get the knowledge. So these three things, just to wrap up. First, monks need to be special by following all Vinaya rules. Two, monks need to know very clearly, very well how to answer basic questions about Dhamma. And three, monks need to be updated on the modern scientific knowledge of the mind and the body. Thank you.
Okay, now I think we ran out of time. Sorry for all of you. Sorry to all of you for, I need to wrap it up. We have wonderful presentations, and I do deeply praise and appreciate the views presented on this stage by our exceptional scholars. And of course, it is very, very important and valuable to practice Vinaya. Without the Vinaya practice, there is no monastic community. The Vinaya is the foundation of the entire Buddhist world. So we need to know that. With knowing that, we should have more and more people coming forward to adhere to, the minute details of the Vinaya. We need to have those kind of things, but I'm quite sure that not all of us are going to change in a night's time. There are some kind of practical issues, that there are some kind of cultural issues, and so there are a lot of things, but I think things take time to change. And that is the reality, and we have to understand it. And at the same time, we have a great presentation about the modernization of the Buddha Dhamma. Modernization of the Buddha Dhamma doesn't mean that we are going to change the Buddha's teachings, But how to adopt some kind of modern changes or modern developments to promote the Buddha Dhamma. There, I think we can do a lot of modernization. At the same time, I think we are we are not in the same era like our ancestors. The generations of my teacher's teacher and teacher's teacher, they were in an era where I think they have to deal with a lot of illiterate people. Now, the general public is highly educated. So we are living in that kind of era. I think we need to be more competent as a kind of promoter of the Dhamma, as a kind of a person who is looking forward to kind of bring this message to the world. So we need to improve ourselves. So that is a part of the modernization. And then adaptation, adopting of the technology, and then kind of those kind of things are another part of it. So we have kind of, I think all of us have some kind of a general understanding of what we talk about when we talk about the modernization of the Buddha Dhamma. And we do agree with Venerable's presentation. So its general understanding is like that. So with this note, I'm going to conclude this session. So thank you very much for all of you.
Thank you everyone for engaging in a very compelling Q&A session. There will now be 30 minutes tea break, and I request you all to assemble back after 30 minutes. Thank you. Enjoy your tea.